And we're back. Okay, this video is going to look at joints, just the common things that all joints have in common to start with, and I think we're going to have to do a video on each joint type. They may end up being quite short videos, but there's too much content to put into one video. So what I have here is documents A and B that we saw before. I'm just going to do a little bit of setup here. I'm going to make this. Now I'm going to copy this into there, and I'm going to put it there, and then I'm just going to close this. So we have A and B, and I'm going to delete that ground piece, and I'm going to make this static body there. Okay, so now we have one static body and B is a dynamic body, and I'm going to make a joint between bodies A and B. So joints are added to the scene, as you may have guessed, in the same way as bodies and fixtures. We have this add joint, and as with fixtures, we need to first select some bodies to say which bodies the joints should be attached to, which bodies the joints should connect. And as we can see, we only have one body selected at the moment, so that's not enough. We need to have two bodies selected before this menu will stop being grayed out. So let's start with the revolute joint to start with, and we'll put the revolute joint. The joint is going to go where the cursor is, so I'll put the cursor just right in the middle of these two at the bottom. And then what I need to do is I need to have at least two bodies selected, and it's important which order you select these in, because the first one that you select, like that, is going to be body A, and then the second one you select will be body B. If you have more than two bodies selected, the first one will always be body A, and it's kind of random as to which one will be second, which one will be body B. So if when you're joining two bodies with a joint, it's probably better just to make sure you have only two bodies selected. So you need at least two bodies, but it's better to have only two. So I'll have body A, body B. Now when I hit the space bar and come into this add joint menu, now we can choose some joints to add. So I'll start with revolute, and we're in body mode, so we didn't really see anything change there, but if I hit J to go into joint mode, now we can see that we have a joint here, and the green dashed line is going to body A and the blue dashed line is going to body B. So that lets us see which is body A and which is body B. And if we just give this a quick run, we'll see there that these two bodies are in fact joined together, and the anchor point for them is at that location there. So if we look at the properties screen for this joint, okay, I'll select the joint, we can see a bunch of things here related to revolute joints at the bottom. So that's what this blue color means. These are the properties that are specific to this particular type of joint that we have selected. So the blue ones here will be different. If we had selected, say, a distance joint or a wheel joint, there'll be different properties. Some of them different properties. And then above that in the green here we have properties that are common to all joint types. So they all have this collide connected thing here. If I set that to true and then we run this again, we should see that now these two bodies will actually collide with each other. So I'm not going to explain these things too much. Anchor A and B obviously are quite important things, and they're quite often misunderstood things, I find. at least reading the forums and questions that come up in Stack Overflow and things like that. So hopefully having an editor like this will make it a little bit more obvious what these points are for. And we have obviously here we have body A and body B, and they are unfortunately named the same thing, so let's just fix that. This is body A and this is body B. Okay, now if I go back to my joint mode, it's better, body A and body B. And just jumping back here for a second, the anchor positions. As we saw in one of the earlier videos where we moved things, translation, rotation, scaling, I think it was that video, we can move the joint anchors, and we do that by hitting T to translate, or G. So that's T here, and now I can move the joint anchor for position for body A, and I'll put it right on the tip of this A fixture here. And then if I do that again, but this time I hit T 2 times, now I will be editing or translating the joint anchor for body B here. So let's put that one right on the tip of the body B. So we can see here we have a red line which is showing us that these two anchor points are disjointed at the moment. So when the program starts, or when the simulation starts running, the physics engine will pull these 2 points together. Body A is static, so it's not going to move, which means that this point on this corner of B is going to be yanked over this way until it comes here. So I guess we can take a look at that now. So as we're running in player views here, and by the way, I'm showing joints here, and just as a reminder, you can choose which categories of information you show here. So I can turn joints off or on, and I need to have this little information icon button toggled on to see these joints in the scene, in the player view. Anyway, so the simulation's not running at this point, so they are not being pulled together. But if we step through the simulation like this by just advancing one step at a time, well, it only took one step. Okay, so now we'll just continue running. So that means that the anchor points for these bodies have been set up so that these corners are going to be pulled together. So I hope that editing things in a visual way like this and being able to quickly change something and then run it and see what it does like that. So you might say, oh, what does that do? And then you can run it quickly and see the result that you get. I hope they'll make it easier to understand what all these anchor points are all about. Okay, and what else can we do with joints here that are common to all joint types? We can change the bodies, and we can switch the bodies if we preferred to have let's say we wanted to have the dynamic body here as body B. We could select that joint, and we could come down here and switch body A, body B. So this will just switch the two bodies. And we can also change which bodies this joint connects. We only have two bodies in the scene at the moment, so let's add another body over here. Let's make it body C. Let's make it a real body C. So okay, that's a C. Oops. Okay, now it's a C. Okay, so we have body C, and I'll make that body static so that we can connect it in the same way. Now, going back to joints, I'll select this joint, and I can select or click this button here, and I can say that this joint should now have body A, this dialog will only pop up until you tell it not to come up again. So it's letting you know that when you click that button, now we're in a sort of a special mode. As you can see, all these inputs here have been grayed out, so they're disabled. We're in a special mode now where it's waiting for me to click the body that I want to choose to be body A. So if I click here on body C, this is confusing, isn't it? Body C is now body A, and we didn't give it a name, so it's taken the name body 0. But we can quite clearly see now that the joint anchor has moved, and it's keeping the same local position that it had. So it was body A's position is here, and we had the joint there, so that's sort of off to the right and down a little bit. And when we change the body that the anchor is using, it's in the same position relative to this body location, so it's off to the right and down a bit, and it ended up there. So what that means is that now these two bodies B and C are connected, and we can see that by mousing over, and we can see that there's a lot more distance to correct. So just as quickly run that, we can see that we get now bodies B and C are connected. And I think we're about done for this now. Yeah, that's going to cover it for the common properties that joints have. So in the next video we're going to be looking at some specific types of joints, because each joint is a little bit different. So yeah, check out the next videos. Thank you. Oops, wait a minute, I forgot to mention something. I also should have mentioned about copying and pasting and duplicating joints. Now, joints cannot be copied and pasted, but they can be duplicated, and that's because copying and pasting, you sort of have to have two bodies selected to paste them into, and it gets pretty complicated. So what we have available to us, at least currently, is only duplication. So you can duplicate a joint and it will keep the same two bodies that it connects, and everything else about the duplicated joint will be the same as well. And this is not very commonly used because for example, in the case of the Revolute joint that we were just looking at, it doesn't really make sense to have two exactly identical Revolute joints. And if you have two Revolute joints at different locations between bodies, it means that they can't actually rotate, because they're sort of, the constraints don't allow for it. But one case where you might like to do this is, for example, if you have a swinging sign, just for lack of a better description, and you might want to join the bodies with a distance joint like this. So we would have a distance joint like that, and to run this we have, as we can see, body B is hanging from body A like this, and we can duplicate this joint if we don't really need to set up anything special. We just want to have another joint that's the same, or a few more joints that are the same. We can take this joint and we can use Shift D, as we did for bodies and fixtures, and then the new joint, we are immediately in a translation mode, so we can bring the local anchor A over here, and now we have two joints that are connecting the same body. So what we really should do is move anchor B as well, and we'll put that there. So this is one case where it can be handy to duplicate joints, and now if you run this, we'll see we have a swinging sign kind of a thing like that. So yeah, copying and pasting is not very common with joints, I think, as it is with bodies and fixtures, but this example here is at least one that I can think of that could be occasionally handy to be able to do, and you can do that with Shift D. So I think now we have finished this video. Okay, thanks.